President Donald Trump claimed that U.S. airstrikes have completely and totally obliterated Iran's main nuclear enrichment facilities and warned of more attacks to come if Tehran does not seek peace. Well, in a televised address from the White House after the United States joined Israel's air campaign against Tehran, Trump called the United States attack a spectacular military success. Let's hear to what he had to say.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
And for more, we're being joined live by Dr. Glenn Deason. He's a professor of international relations at the University of Southeastern Norway and an editor at the Russia and Global Affairs Journal. Thank you so much, Dr. Gleason, for joining us on the broadcast.
Thank you.
So we're getting some very conflicting accounts of the U.S. strikes in Fordow. Iran's state news agency IRNA said that locals didn't feel anything unusual and that the enriched uranium at the site had already been moved. Meanwhile, Trump has called the strike as a spectacular success, though there's been no independent confirmation of that yet. Now, given all of this, how do you read the situation here? What's really going on, and what could this mean for Iran's nuclear program?
Well, I'm sure damage was delivered, but as you said, there are conflicting messages. Obviously, the attack on the nuclear facilities in Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan, they were the former was the most important one, but Trump's argument that this was a complete and they were completely and totally obliterated, there's definitely some conflicting messages there that the damage wasn't that significant. But again, this information will be revealed in the days, if not the hours to come. But there's also been no reports of radiation leaks, so it's not clear to what extent this was successful. All we're leaning on now is Trump's statements, and he's not always the most reliable. I think the main thing he wanted to go out with was to set a precedent, I guess, as well. That is that the United States have the ability to bomb Iran then without retaliation. Now this has been, it seems very strange, but this has been to a large extent what the United States has done for the past 30 years. That is the ability to bomb weak states without significant consequences. It's often referred to as a bloody nose. So attack a little bit and then warn the opponent that if they retaliate, there will be a much more powerful attack coming. And this is, of course, he went out and tweeted after the bombing of Iran that now is the time for peace, and of course threatening with retaliation if Iran retaliates. The problem here is that Iran is not a small or a weak country, and obviously if Iran retaliates, the war will continue to escalate. However, I think Iran will reach the conclusion that no retaliation would be much more dangerous, because they would set a precedent in which the United States can bomb Iran at will without any consequences, and I think that would lead to much more dangerous situation.
Right, Dr. Thiessen, as you've rightly pointed out, that has been the strategy at play. President Trump has warned Iran against any retaliatory action following the U.S. strike, saying that the response will be met with far greater force. But Iran's atomic agency has also hit back, saying that its nuclear program won't be stopped by what it calls the evil plot of its enemies. Now, Iran doesn't seem deterred, as we've already discussed. Now, how do you see Tehran responding to this pressure? Will it escalate, or is it going to hold the ground for now?
No, I think it will likely retaliate, but in a limited manner, which would give the United States the option of not pursuing this ladder of escalation. But I think at this point it's very difficult to prevent climbing up this ladder, because whatever Iran does now, the US will then respond. So, but there's many things that Iran can do. They can shut down the Strait of Hormuz, which is very possible. They can target American assets in the region. They have, military bases, naval bases. Both Iran as well as its allies could strike this. So while the US has a lot more punching power than Israel, the United States is also more vulnerable in many places, as its bases are closer and often more exposed. So the US has been building up a lot of assets in places like Saudi Arabia over the past few days. So I wouldn't be surprised if Iran would go after any of this. Again, no one in Tehran is telling me what they're planning to do, but this is a very big possibility.